Well, I have a lot of advice, but I think the biggest advice is, uh, you know, and it sounds basic or cliche or whatever, but go make films and finish them. I think that's the first step. Uh, and don't second guess yourself. You're probably better at this than you think you are. And I always think about this, and it's kind of not exactly the quote, but I read this quote from a writer named Philippa Boyens, who's Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh's writing partner on all the Lord of the Rings, right, very successful screenwriter. And she went to NYU and got her MFA there. And the quote was, "I wasn't the best writer in my class, but I'm the one who's still writing." And I think I think that like tenacity and persistence and patience is a really big part of success. Um, and I think that especially as you're young, although this isn't solely a young person's profession, but when you have a certain amount of freedom in your life, that you don't have a family or a mortgage or um, all of these things, that you should really seize that time to go make films and just get out there and do it. And more specifically, I think it's really great. The more roles you can fulfill in the filmmaking process, the more likelihood you have of completing your project. If you're able to shoot, I think that's a huge step in I see in whether a film gets finished or not, and in what timeline it gets finished or not. I think with documentary, especially, we're very fortunate in that we have a lot more control over whether whether our film gets finished or not has a lot more to do with us than it does certain external factors, which sounds strange because we're dealing in a very uncontrolled medium that's dependent upon the outside world. But what we're also not doing is trying to make a narrative film that, although narrative films are often made very cheaply, there are a lot of external factors out of your control that can make those films very difficult to make. Not that you shouldn't go make those films.
Right.
But I think that in a way, there are fewer excuses with documentary to not go out there and do it. So that would be my advice.